Fate is an inspired concept, one that I personally choose to believe in. It's the idea that amidst the chaos of existence, nothing truly happens by chance, that random things happen not so randomly. Therein lies a purpose for each minute activity, interaction, and conversation we have in this life. Each movement we make is a step in the right, well, the only direction. In a world where the notion of limitless possibilities and branching paths exist, I find myself drawn to the comforting embrace of fate. I'm of the opinion that what is meant to unfold will always find its way, and what awaits us is an inescapable destiny. It's a belief that defies empirical proof, for every race, religion, and creed has its own interpretation of this cosmic design. Yet, the one undeniable proof of fate is our own journey through life. There is no turning back, no peeking around the corner to glimpse the future, and especially no pondering left and right to see what other versions of us would look like if we had done things differently. And it seems Celine Song, the writer and director of the new critically acclaimed film Past Lives, shares some of my sentiment for fate and its nuances. Because as storied as it was for her to create this beautiful feature, destiny made plans for it to evoke something in me in the form of this video. Past Lives follows the intertwining tale of Nora, played by Greta Lee, and Hae Sung, played by Teo Yoo. Two deeply connected childhood friends who are forced apart after Nora's family immigrates from South Korea. 20 years later, they are reunited for one fateful week as they confront notions of love and destiny. This movie really surprised me with how much it could deliver with a runtime of an hour and 45 minutes, especially factoring in that it's a story that spans 2 decades. I've got to give a bouquet of flowers to first-time director Celine Song. She joins a very exclusive group of directorial debuts which will undoubtedly go down in history as nothing short of movie magic. The writing and dialogue of Past Lives is utterly enchanting. It's very reminiscent of the style of dialogue in Spike Jonze's Her. It achieves an ethereal sense of connection and intimacy, making viewers feel like they're witnessing a world where words possess a unique magnetism. The character's authentic dialogue invites us to explore the depths of human connection, leaving a lasting mark on the soul as it delves into the complexities of love, loneliness, and evolving relationships. Celine Song's direction accompanies the dialogue beat for beat. She has conducted her cast and crew flawlessly, pulling from them the necessary elements to create this film. She kept interactions between certain cast members restricted so as to evoke a more visceral reaction on camera. Celine also used 35mm film, bolstering her DP's shot selection as 35 handles and retains color better than any other format, and it's so soothing to the eyes, making this a very pretty movie. And my favorite thing about her direction was her allowance of silence and stillness, so that the moments in between eclectic dialogue had ample time to affect the audience in the same way that they were affecting the characters. This directorial debut also follows the somewhat traditional trend of being based on the filmmaker's life experiences, as this story is autobiographical to an extent, with Celine also immigrating from Korea to Canada, then eventually New York, to pursue a career in writing. And the scene she says is verbatim from her life is that she too was also sitting in a bar, acting as a linguistic conduit between her Korean childhood sweetheart and her American husband.
That actually happened, where I found myself sitting in this bar in East Village in New York City, sitting between my childhood sweetheart, who had come to visit me from Korea, who's now a friend, and my husband that I live with in New York City.
And if all of Celine's talents wasn't enough, the unbelievable chemistry and acting of our leads Greta and Teo was the perfect ribbon to package the beautiful parcel that this movie came to be. But I didn't make this video to fawn over the technical and aesthetic aspects of this movie, but more so as an outlet for me to discuss the influences core themes of fate, choices, and closure had on me. Hey, Hashimoto here. If you enjoy any and all of this video, I'd like to kindly request if you could like and subscribe. Helps me out tremendously, and hey, it's free. Peace. In the quiet corners of our minds, we all entertain the concept of what if. And no, I'm not talking about the Marvel show. It's where curiosity plays with the choices we've made. These reflections invite us to explore the infinite possibilities of life, reminding us that our journey is a colorful mosaic of roads we've taken and those left untraveled. Past Lives is a case study of that exact question. What if? The opening scene gives us a hint of the culmination of choices that leads one of our main characters, Nora, into the exact position she is in now. We overhear what seems to be unknown bystanders commenting on our three core characters and what the nature of the trio's relationship might be. As the shot zooms in to have only Nora in frame, she curiously meets eyes with the camera in an auspicious fourth wall break. What was she looking at? Were those voices actually people sitting across the bar? Or were those just echoes of Nora's thought process? Sitting in such a unique position as she is, between people who come from the furthest reaches of her life, Nora sits in contemplation of how this exact situation may have differed if her choices in life were slightly altered. As we now know, having watched the movie, she is in fact married to Arthur, and Hae Sung is her childhood sweetheart. But her mind is in a state of reflection, starting with reality, then hopping onto other ideas of who she may have ended up with.
I think the white guy and the Asian girl are a couple, and the Asian guy is her brother.
Or the Asian girl and the Asian guy are a couple, and the white guy is their American friend.
Sifting through possibilities as she bathes in fate's mysterious plans, or as this film refers to it as, Inyeon. Inyeon is a complex and multifaceted concept in Korean culture, encompassing ideas of fate, destiny, interconnectedness, and the significance of relationships and actions. First mentioned when Nora meets Arthur on their writing residency, the concept is where the movie's title derives from. That even if two strangers walk by each other on the street and their clothes accidentally brush, it means that there must have been something between them in their past lives. And if these two get married, it must mean that there were 8,000 layers of Inyeon, over 8,000 past lives. Anybody can be anything to anyone. That's what the opening is trying to suggest, and it's highlighted throughout the film. For example, when asked if she'll run away with Hae Sung, Nora replies,
"I'm not gonna miss my rehearsals for some dude."
And that's completely valid. They weren't ever really a couple as they never dated. They don't talk all that much over the past 20 years, so they aren't close friends. The only real way to describe their relationship is with Inyeon. That it is just some dude or some girl that can come into your life and have an everlasting effect. Inyeon also stands as a reminder that the universe's plans will always trump our own. Like when 12-year-old Nora claims,
나 아마 걔랑 결혼할걸?
정말? 걔도 너랑 결혼한대?
or when Hae Sung learns that it'll rain throughout his stay in New York, only to discover clear skies on his long-awaited reunion with Nora, another effort on the behalf of Inyeon. Just like an older brother handing you a disconnected controller while they play video games, the universe often offers us the illusion of control over our lives. It's like a cosmic charade, where we hold the controller, press the buttons, and think we're steering the game, all the while unaware that the real gameplay is happening elsewhere. The point is, it's best to focus on what's happening now, not what might have been. That's a recipe for disaster. It's interesting to see that even though Nora has parted ways with her traditionally Korean self, she holds on dearly to the concept of Inyeon. Nora isn't exclusive to these thoughts or possibilities. Arthur feels like a walking what-if in Nora's life, exploring the sad possibility that it could have been anyone Nora met at her residency, another writer who also shared her interests. He also struggles with the frustration of not being able to understand the woman he loves most in the world. Due to his lack of Korean, her sleep-talking and bar chatter are inaudible to him. Hae Sung, on the other hand, goes through a journey of dealing with Nora's choices, asking himself how life could have been if she didn't leave Korea, or if he did visit her in New York in their second interaction. Would they be together now? A part of him needed answers to these questions. He mentions how he showed great mental strength during his time in the army, and that really does show in the maturity he exhibits when visiting Nora. There's this internal battle within them all, of being content with their choices and where they currently are, against the what if and what could have been. Closure is impressed upon frequently in movies, and very rarely in the way Past Lives does. Similar to that of La La Land, this story doesn't have the typical fairy tale ending. Nora doesn't run off with Hae Sung, they don't move back to Seoul, but our trio do in fact achieve their happily ever after. The film is split up into 3 distinct goodbyes, quite similar to the traditional 3-act structure. The first being when Nora leaves for Canada as a child, the second when she decides to stop talking to Hae Sung to focus on her dreams of becoming a writer, and finally the third when Hae Sung departs New York. The first 2 goodbyes left something to be desired between the two. In the rush of their emotions, Nora and Hae Sung had sour tastes left in their mouth when having to separate both times. Even in the build-up to their third encounter, both had trepidations, with Nora and Hae Sung camouflaging his visit under the guise of a routine vacation or holiday. Whether that's fear of what the interaction might invoke, or just pure anxiety of the unknown, what they do know is that something inside of them desires closure, and after decades, this might be their final chance to put their souls and minds at ease. In their initial reunion, Hae Sung's demeanor takes on a childlike quality, nervous, fidgety, self-conscious, as if he's compensating for the time that has passed, reverting to the person he was when they last met. The camera casually cuts to the shot of their first date as they played within head-shaped sculptures, symbolizing to me that they've regressed into their childlike minds within their adult heads. This transformation is also reflected in the nostalgic setting, as they sit with a carousel in the background. When steadily going through the stages missed over the past 20 years, they find themselves all caught up at 4 a.m. as they share a drink in a cozy bar. During the scene, the song that can be heard in the background is Don't Look Back, a song from 1965 by the Irish group Them, featuring Van Morrison. And here in the culmination of mulling over his long list of what-ifs, and seeing how Arthur adores Nora, Hae Sung finally learns the truth. He always loved her for who she is, how aspirational she is, how much of a crybaby she is, and part and parcel of her character was to leave. The dedication and commitment Nora has to being a great writer and aspiring to win awards is one of the reasons Hae Sung was so fond of her. But not only does she possess those attributes for being a writer, she carries that in her character and relationship with Arthur. And when he finally meets him and recognizes the love he has for her, he understands why he could never have been with her. The reasons she went away from him were the exact reasons he loved her. One doesn't happen without the other. So even though we know Nora is happy with Arthur and doesn't share those feelings anymore for Hae Sung, why does she cripple into tears when he leaves? It was a burden lifted, an emotional weight off her mind. She cries as closure and grieving have finally been fulfilled in their third and final goodbye. The endless what-ifs in Nora's mind are all abolished. She's also saying goodbye to her 12-year-old self, which she left back in Korea with Hae Sung all those years ago. In the end, Nora mourns not only the young girl who had to leave Korea, but also the relationship and life that might have been. These themes are what Celine Song skillfully conveys in this film, highlighting the idea that this process of grieving is not only healthy, but necessary for finding closure and reaffirming the choices one has made. And just like the first goodbye, Hae Sung goes left and Nora goes right and up the stairs, him to his more traditional life back in Korea, and her on her ever-diverging path. And some things never change, because she's still the same old crybaby decades later. In past lives, we're reminded that dwelling on what-ifs is a waste of time. Instead, embrace the power of grieving and closure. They are tools that mend our wounds, strengthen our resolve, and help us grow. By letting go of what could have been, we make room to cherish and nurture what truly is. And therein lies the path to genuine appreciation and personal growth.
버리는 게 있으면 얻는 것도 있거든요.
There are no heroes or villains in this film, it's just beautiful character arcs. It truly is extraordinary emotions in ordinary circumstances. Well, that's what I have to say about Past Lives. Let me know in the comments what effects this movie had on you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, appreciate you watching.
It's my kind of time. But you're studying, right?